also was honorary president of the American Humanist Association, a signer of the Humanist Manifesto, a lifelong supporter of the American Civil Liberties Union, and a pacifist intellectual. Born in Indianapolis, Indiana, Vonnegut was the son and grandson of architects who had attended the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He seemed destined for the sciences when he entered Cornell University in 1940, majoring in chemistry, but became interested in writing and journalism, serving as assistant managing editor and associate editor of the Cornell Daily Sun. After he enlisted in the Army, Vonnegut studied mechanical engineering at the Carnegie Institute of Technology and the University of Tennessee. But after the war, he worked for various newspapers, wire services, Sports Illustrated, as a technical writer and a teacher before his books took off. While serving as an infantryman, Vonnegut was captured during the Battle of the Bulge. 2 months later, in February 1945, he and a group of American prisoners of war survived the firebombing of Dresden while being held in an underground slaughterhouse meat locker called Schlachthof 5, Slaughterhouse 5. The experience inspired the book of that name. It was liberated by Soviet troops in May 1945. Vonnegut's great-grandfather, Clemens Vonnegut, wrote a freethinker's book entitled Instruction in Morals. He also wrote his own eulogy. This is not Vonnegut, but his great-grandfather. His own eulogy denying the existence of God. Adopting the views as his own, Kurt Vonnegut included the eulogy in his book, Palm Sunday. Although clearly a humanist, Vonnegut identified with Unitarianism his entire life. His parents had been married by a Unitarian minister, having turned to the religion when German free thought became unpopular in the United States during the World Wars. At one time, a member of a Unitarian congregation, Vonnegut delivered at least one sermon to the First Parish Unitarian Church in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Vonnegut's own son at one time considered becoming a Unitarian minister. Vonnegut referred to religious doctrine as, quote, so much arbitrary, clearly invented balderdash, close quotes. I should point out that as honorary chair, he followed Isaac Asimov of the Humanist Society, too. He rejected the divinity of Jesus, but admired the Sermon on the Mount, rejected the supernatural, and did not believe in life after death. He wrote, quote, I am a humanist, which means in part that I have tried to behave decently without expectations of rewards or punishment after I am dead. Every week in our church we take up an offering. We do so during our worship service as an expression of gratitude for the blessing of abundance. Our offering says that the act of giving is as essential to our spiritual well-being as anything else we do here on Sunday mornings. The morning offering will now be given and received in the spirit of grateful fellowship. As we begin preparations for our message, let us take a moment to calm our thoughts and to meditate upon our place with each other and the universe. Please close your eyes. Place your hands on your thighs. Breathe in and out, relaxing your shoulders. Breathe in and out, relaxing your neck. Breathe in and out, relaxing your eyes. Now feel yourself melting from the top of your head, your physical being flowing down your shoulders and your torso, pooling on the floor, your molecules mixing with those of your neighbors, flowing down into the ground and becoming one with the earth. The earth, now a globe, turning slowly through nights and days, bearing you through space among the planets, the stars, the galaxies. Now return through the galaxies, past the stars, the planets, down to the blue-green globe, into the soil, up through the floor of our sanctuary. Your molecules flowing back up the chairs and reforming your body. Breathe in and out, and open your eyes. Please rise as you are willing and able for our next hymn, a rationalist's version of the childhood song, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. The words are found on the back of your order of service. Thank you. Our speaker this morning, Tom Begush, as I mentioned, is a 2-year member of our congregation. He never thought that he would be even a semi-regular attendee at a church, but here he is, ready to give his first sermon, and admittedly a little bit nervous. And I've done nothing at all to make him less nervous. It always helps to be on edge a little bit, Tom. He describes himself as a proud husband, homemaker, student, and father. He loves to eat. He loves music. He loves to read. And as those of us that have attended or participated with him in the memoir writing group knows, he loves to write. He also is proud of the fact that he has no cable. One thing I did not know before he emailed me last night, and I'm not sure whether he's serious about this, but I'm assuming given the time, says that for over a decade he has been an ordained minister in the International Church of Atheism. So at this time, Tom Begush.
Hi, I'm Tom. This sermon will have many quotes. I'd like to start with 2. We have always been shameless about stealing great ideas. Steve Jobs. I invented nothing new. I simply assembled the discoveries of other men, behind whom were centuries of work. Progress happens when all the factors that make for it are ready, and then it is inevitable. Henry Ford. And so it is true with this speech and with my philosophy. I am thankful for the opportunity to share with you my feelings about how amazing and glorious our existence really is. And thankful for the opportunity to do it here among open-minded and open-hearted friends who will not judge me. I cannot claim the foundation for this sermon is new or original. Parts of it do come from my own mind and parts of it do not. But I am simply carrying the torch of the great thinkers that came before me. I've had a very difficult time writing this piece. I do not wish to alienate anyone. I do not wish to burn bridges or create animosity. In fact, I sincerely encourage all of you in your spiritual searches. I do not want to attack organized religion right now, but writing these words without some small anti-religious rhetoric is impossible, and for that I ask for your patience and understanding, but not your forgiveness. Please take a moment and appreciate the humor in the fact that standing here in the pulpit is an atheist giving a sermon. And in the course of this sermon, I will attempt to answer some of the questions I often am asked about being a non-believer. I will be the first to admit that atheism and spirituality are an odd couple, but they can happily coexist in the same person, just as the Baha'i faith teaches us that science and religion can benefit humankind and even each other. I don't need to declare membership to a certain group to enjoy the architectural beauty of a church. I don't need to belong to the choir to let a hymn make the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I can cry from happiness, marvel at a sunset, volunteer, be a good person, and take pride in being a husband and a father, all without dogma or doctrine. I do not wear a name tag at this congregation because I do not like labels. Labels add constraints, confine people, and narrow ideas. I have been called a skeptic, a non-believer, confused, angry at God, agnostic, evil and unholy, a devil worshipper, and even the most spiteful name in the book, the dreaded atheist. Let's talk about that label for a moment, atheist. In fact, atheism is a term that should not even exist. No one ever needs to identify himself as a non-astrologer or a non-alchemist. We do not have words for people who doubt that Elvis is still alive or doubt that aliens have traversed the galaxy only to molest ranchers and their cattle. Atheism is nothing more than the noises reasonable people make in the presence of unjustified religious beliefs. But yet, I will use the term atheist because I haven't anything better. Before we talk about something as easily definable as spiritualism, we must first talk about ourselves. We, those passionate, hopeful beings who, if we are lucky, will experience an exalted and elated feeling of spirituality at some point in our lives. Who is an atheist? What is an atheist? Every single one of us is an atheist by default, at birth. Only later, when we as children are taught religion, do we become believers. Look out. Here comes a statistic. As of the last census, 20% of America claims no religion, and that embodies 1/3 of people under 30. Atheism is the lack of belief in any gods, which implies that nothing exists but natural phenomena, matter and energy, that human thought is a function of energy flowing through our gray matter, and that death, the cessation of all perception, irreversibly and totally terminates individual organic units. This means that there are no forces, phenomena, or entities which exist outside or apart from physical nature, or which transcend nature or are supernatural, nor can there be. Humankind is on its own. We are not the playthings of some angry and spiteful sky spirit. We, and we alone, are the makers and the masters of our own environment. We will reap what we sow. How do we apply a definition to someone like myself, who wishes to avoid all labels? Atheists are people, although some might disagree. An atheist loves his fellow man instead of God. An atheist believes that heaven is something for which we should work for now, here on earth, for all men to enjoy. An atheist believes that he can get no help through prayer, but that he must find in himself the inner conviction and strength to meet life, to grapple with it, to subdue it, and to enjoy it. An atheist believes that only in a knowledge of himself and a knowledge of his fellow man can he find the understanding that will help achieve a life of fulfillment. He seeks to know himself and his fellow man rather than to know a God. An atheist believes that a hospital should be built instead of a church. An atheist believes that a deed must be done instead of a prayer said. An atheist strives for involvement in life and not escape into death. He wants disease conquered, poverty vanquished, war eliminated. He wants man to understand and love man. He wants an ethical way of life. He believes that we cannot rely on a God or channel action into prayer nor hope for an end of troubles in a hereafter. He believes that we are our brother's keepers and the keepers of our own lives, and that we are responsible persons, and the job is here, and the time is now. Some people might say they don't believe in God, whereas I, more or less humbly, know that it is equally unlikely any gods exist, including any god you can name. Perhaps Harry Potter's friend Hermione put it best when she said, "You could claim that anything's real if the only basis for believing in it is the fact that nobody's proved it doesn't exist." So what's the difference between knowing and believing? The difference is a subtle but important one. Can I honestly say that the earth is a sphere? I believe that it is, but if I've never traveled far enough away from the ground to see for myself, how can I know? Countless other humans before me have concluded thus. Why do I take their word for it? Humans are fallible. I believe, nay, I know, the world is round because there is irrefutable evidence to support that claim. I have seen photographs of a round planet Earth, but only handmade drawings of a flat Earth. I have seen with my own eyes the arc of the atmosphere through the window in a plane. I have seen ships disappearing over the horizon. I have seen the round shadow of our Earth on the moon. And according to the laws of physics, a sphere is the smallest shape you can make when gravitational forces are evenly distributed, meaning that our planet is round for the exact same reason a soap bubble is round. Where do you get your morals? Without the Bible or a God to answer to, what stops you from just running around killing people? Yes, I have been asked that question with a straight face. Why should mankind need the bribe of divine reward or the threat of divine retribution to act hospitably to ourselves? Not to sound condescending, but have you ever seen the children's TV show Sesame Street? That program does a wonderful job of teaching morality, and it does so without any religious persuasion. Sesame Street teaches virtues like sharing, kindness to others, being friends, patience, acceptance of differences, and perseverance in the face of adversity. With or without religion, we can all agree that those are wonderful attributes for anyone to have. If we'd like to expand our answer, we could also attain our morals from our legal code. But as you also know that what is moral is not always legal, and vice versa. My morals come from my family, my peers, society at large, and I can also make my own decisions about right versus wrong using my own common sense and logic. There are many societies all over the world which teach some version of, you get what you give, what goes around comes around, do unto others. Why do we see such similarity in morality around the globe, regardless of specific religious beliefs? Because it is good advice. What is seen as immoral today wasn't immoral 2,000 years ago. And in the future, what we're doing now may be considered immoral. For example, burning fossil fuels. Morality is an ever-changing, constantly evolving fluid of ambiguousness and what-ifs. However, I think that any text that condones slavery or encourages gender discrimination is immediately disqualified as a source of morality. Why do atheists hate God? Perhaps what turns me off most about organized religion is that it directly or indirectly causes us to exclude others and teaches us to be satisfied with not understanding our neighbor, our reality, our fragile planet. Why isn't this enough? Isn't this enough? Just this world? Just this beautiful, complex, wonderfully unfathomable, natural world? How does it so fail to hold our attention that we have to diminish it with the invention of cheap, man-made myths and monsters? Much of my personal opinions are shaped by the fact that we live in a country where the majority of people claim to be some sort of Christian, yet act nothing like the man they claim to idolize. My heart holds no love for any organized religion, and that is based on my personal observations and experiences. Because of my atheism, I have endured professional demotions, undeserved punishment, ostracization, and discrimination. It has ended relationships and cost me many friends. Quite frankly, without speaking of specific atrocities, organized religion terrifies me. Religion makes reasonable people do unreasonable things. Living in this life as if you're already in the next removes from your actions all responsibility and consequence, the burden of which is spread to your fellow man. When religious excuses motivate people into preventing my friends from getting married, that affects me personally. When a politician says the end of days is near, and therefore we don't need to regulate pollution, that affects everyone, especially our children. When a megachurch spends more on its monthly electric bill than its annual humanitarian aid, that should embarrass all people. Where do you find meaning in your life? Why have children? What's the point of even living? And perhaps, most importantly, how is it possible for an atheist to have a spiritual existence? Some believers accuse skeptics of having nothing left but a dull, cold, scientific world. I am left with only art, music, literature, theater, the magnificence of nature, mathematics, the human spirit, sex, the cosmos, friendship, history, science, imagination, dreams, oceans, mountains, love, and the wonder of birth. That'll do for me. Life is beautiful, wondrous, thrilling, not because of what might or might not come after it. Life is rich and fulfilling in its own right. What a waste to keep it to yourself, and how beautiful to give life and your passion for it to someone new. Our humanity is built or broken down by the relationships we create with those around us. These relationships are the root of what moves us, comforts us, scares us, or gives us strength. Building a family can create the strongest type of bond we know, unconditional love. This love is symbiotic. It empowers both parents and children, and is absolutely worth sharing, living for, dying for. A most astounding fact is the knowledge that the atoms that comprise all life on Earth, the atoms that make up the human body, are traceable to the crucibles that cooked light elements into heavy elements in their core under extreme temperatures and pressures. These stars, the high-mass ones among them, went unstable in their later years. They collapsed and exploded, scattering their enriched guts across the galaxy, guts made of carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and all the fundamental ingredients for life. These ingredients become parts of clouds that condense, collapse, and form the next generation of solar systems, stars with orbiting planets. And those planets now have the ingredients for life itself. So when I look up at the night sky, and I know that yes, we are a part of this universe, we are in this universe, but perhaps more important than both those facts is that the universe is in us. When I reflect on that fact, I look up, and many people feel small because they are small, and the universe is big. But I feel big because my atoms came from those stars. There is a level of connectivity, and that's really what you want in life. You want to feel connected. You want to feel relevant. You want to feel like you are a participant in the goings-on and activities of events around you. And that's precisely what we are, just by being alive. Carl Sagan wasn't kidding when he said, "We are all star stuff." And what better way to feel connected to your fellow man, Mother Earth, the whole universe, than to realize that we all came from the same cosmic stardust. And speaking of being created from dust, according to Genesis 2:5, man was created from dust. So perhaps there is yet room enough to reconcile science and religion after all. What about heaven? What happens when you die? What happens when you die? The same thing that happened for billions of years before we were conceived, and the same thing that will happen for billions of years after we are gone. We did not exist before we were born, and we return to the same state of non-existence after we die. Why does non-existence bother some people so much? I do not believe in an afterlife or reincarnation. Let me say that again. I do not believe in an afterlife or reincarnation. But what I do believe is that we have one life, this life, right here, right now. One chance, one shot to get it as right as we can, to make this world a better place, and to leave it better than we found it, and to not destroy it for the sake of our children. Buddhists say that nothing is permanent. Everything changes. Everything passes. And I have found this to be true. So the fact that there is no great beyond makes every day, every action, every decision, every kiss, every tear, every single experience all the more precious. The universe will continue to turn with or without us. Science tells us that you cannot destroy matter or energy, only transform them. One day, I will pass on, and the molecules and electrical impulses that make me, will dissipate and get recycled into new stuff. And eventually, about 5 billion years from now, our sun will collapse and explode, scattering all our molecules across the universe to be reborn into new stars, planets, and even new life, just as we now are made from ancient stars. That is a fact. From the universe we came, and to the universe we will return. Oh, and by the way, Genesis also says that man will return to dust. Now, what was that I said about reincarnation? Life is the great indulgence. Death, the great abstinence. Therefore, make the most of life here and now. There is no heaven of glory bright, and no hell where sinners roast. Here and now is our day of torment. Here and now is our day of joy. Here and now is our opportunity. Choose ye this day, this hour. Say unto thine own heart, I am my own Redeemer. The universe is what we make it. As much as I'd like to hope that we are an important part of the fabric of existence, I'm not so prideful as to think the universe was created just for us, nor are we the center of anything. At best, we are just minor actors, lucky to be here at all. Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, and Moses, all stress the importance of humility multiple times. But it is an attribute easily overlooked by both believers and non-believers alike. Consider that as you are listening to this, we are traveling at almost 500,000 miles an hour across the galaxy. 90% of the cells in our body carry their own microbial DNA and are not you. The atoms in our body are 99.9999999999999% empty space, and none of them are the ones we were born with. Human beings have 46 chromosomes, 2 less than a common potato. The existence of the rainbow depends on the conical photoreceptors in our eyes. Therefore, to animals or people without these photoreceptors, the rainbow does not exist. We don't just look at a rainbow, we create the rainbow. This is pretty amazing, especially considering that all the beautiful colors a human is able to perceive represent about 0% of the electromagnetic spectrum. And speaking of perception, it is said that perception is reality. Therefore, our universe really is what we make of it. Be it beautiful or be it beastly, it is because we have made it so. Do not believe in anything simply because you have heard it. Do not believe in anything simply because it is spoken and rumored by many. Do not believe in anything simply because it is found written in your religious books. Do not believe in anything merely on the authority of your teachers and elders. Do not believe in traditions because they have been handed down for many generations. But after observation and analysis, when you find that anything agrees with reason and is conducive to the good and benefit of one and all, then accept it and live up to it. Ultimately, I would like to leave you with these last 2 points. Firstly, I will make the claim that we are both atheists. I'm pretty certain that unless you were born several thousand years ago, neither of us believes in Wotan, Jupiter, Anubis, Zeus, Osiris, Bacchus, Thor, nor the countless other tens of thousands of gods that man has created in our short time. You don't believe in any of those other gods, and neither do I. The only difference is, I just believe in one less god than you. And lastly, atheism is not wicked, nor is it a burden. A lack of belief in the supernatural does not hinder me or skew my worldview. In fact, it liberates my mind and empowers me to focus on the here and now, on what is really important in our brief, brutish, and beautiful existence. Thank you.
Tom has been working on that for about 3 months at least, so very good, Tom. Thanks. Now, please rise as you're willing and able and join in our closing hymn, Life is the Greatest Gift of All, number 331.
So treasure
As I extinguish our chalice, please join me in reading our mission statement as a demonstration of our fellowship, our support for one another, and our commitment to the wider community. It's located in the order service. This church provides a safe place to celebrate diversity, draw inspiration for our lives, foster social and environmental justice, and compassionately support each other in our spiritual services. Thank you to our musician, Paul Dadwer, to Wayne Daniel for our chalice lighting, to Barbara and Joy, our greeters, to all others for helping today, and of course, to Tom for his sermon. Tom will now provide us with our closing words and both introduce and perform the prelude. Postlude, pardon me.
I bet y'all didn't know I could play the piano. John Cage was an American composer of classical music who won many accolades for his music. This song, entitled 4 minutes and 33 seconds, is perhaps his most famous work, and is motivated by the belief that what we think of as self-expression is really just an infusion of the art with the social standards that we have been subjected to since birth. Therefore, the only way to achieve truth is to remove the artist from the process of creation. It is a piece for quiet meditation, inward reflection, and stillness. And it begins now. Thank you.